Well, time to complete the trilogy. Of the three main kids channels, Cartoon Network was always my favorite. If we were to compare the networks to actual kids, then Nick was the goofball who's smart but constantly screws up, Disney Channel was the one who always played it safe, then Cartoon Network was like the cool kid. And given that today is their 25th anniversary, what better time to go back and look at their best shows, or at least the ones I like the most. CN has had many ups and downs over the years, but they usually took risks, and when they got it right, damn did they get it right. Again, if it aired on Cartoon Network at the same time it was running, it counts, so shows like Total Drama and Sonic Boom are eligible. So let's begin. These are my top 10 favorite Cartoon Network shows. Number 10. Okay, so for number 10 on my favorite Nick shows, I had Drake and Josh, which I love but find to be very flawed. For number 10 on my favorite Disney shows list, I had The Suite Life of Zack and Cody, which again I love but find it to be very flawed. So it should surprise no one that while I love this show, I find it to be very, very flawed. Yes, Foster's had quite a lot of bad episodes, and all of them seem to be easy to fix, which just makes it more frustrating. But I think this show represents Cartoon Network the best. It always tried, and when it messed up, it really messed up. But when it was good, it could be amazingly good. The premise was really creative. Granted, yeah, the implications are pretty severe when a psychopath can just think up an imaginary friend that's invisible and can kill anyone with a single punch. But hey, cartoon, the worst people in the world are just average bullies, whatever. They took as many opportunities they could with this premise, and the stories they told were often very entertaining. I still love the episode where Mac and Blue are home alone. It's just so funny, and that's really what makes it work. The characters are really fun. From the mischievous Blue, straight man Mac, cowardly Eduardo with a heart of gold, the incredibly kind but pushover Wilt, crazy Madam Foster, other kind of crazy Coco, the pompous manager Mr. Harriman, and hardworking but easily triggered Frankie, the animation is simple but pleasant to look at, and the voice acting is great. I mean, basically every great voice actor and actress of the new millennium worked on it. Now yes, the episodes that were bad were really bad. I will never, ever understand how they thought Foster's Goes to Europe was a good idea. But the good far outweighs the bad. If it weren't for those episodes, then this would have easily been in the top 5, but it can still take its place at number 10. Number 9. Hey girls, I thought I was done with you for the year.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl.
Yeah, rewatching some of the post-McCracken episodes, those really did suck, but when the show was good, it was really good. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup were really fun leads, the voice actresses gave them good chemistry, and their personalities often led to a lot of good humor, but the villains were the reason we came to this. Mojo Jojo, him, the Gang Green Gang, Fuzzy Lumpkins, Princess. They were all so much fun to watch. But the side characters were pretty fun too. Professor Utonium, the Mayor, Miss Bellum, Miss Keen. The show just had a great ensemble of characters. It had a nice mix of action, adventure, and slice of life. Hell, there was one episode that was just the 3 girls playing, and it was amazing. But looking back, I think its strongest aspect was the animation. It was so fast, so stylized, and so entertaining. The action scenes still hold up to this day. That's the reason the last 2 seasons were so lackluster. The action and pacing got so slow. But for most of the show, it was great, and while those last couple seasons hold it back a bit, it can still take its place at number 9 on the list. Number 8. This is the most recent show on the list. This was a huge surprise because it didn't look like anything that special. When I first saw promos for it, I thought, oh, so some show about three brothers who get into shenanigans. They just happen to be bears. Yeah, whatever. But this show is way better than it has any right to be. For one, it manages to be completely ingrained in 2010's culture with viral videos, selfies, that sort of hipster green thing that I just assume everyone in California is like, and yet it doesn't feel pandering, and 10 years from now it won't be dated. They highlight the things that have enough staying power and at least future generations will probably at least know about. Grizz, Panda, and Ice Bear are a ton of fun. They're the type of characters you can put in almost any situation and they will make it entertaining. The animation is simple but oddly hypnotic. I just love looking at it. But probably the most surprising thing about this show is how good the music is. Some of these songs are so catchy and upbeat that I will listen to them at the gym to help me work out. And they're all so nice. If I could say one negative thing about it, I'm not a fan of Charlie. I don't like his design and he's only sometimes funny. But besides that, this is one of the best CN shows I've seen and one of the best on currently. Number 7. How did it take until the 2000s for the show to exist? No, seriously, this seems like it should have been one of the first cartoons ever made. It's just a brilliant idea using cool gadgets made of regular household items to fight adults. And the adults' tyranny can range from just not letting them swim at the community pool to actually trying to force children to grow up. Like, literally. It's a child's fantasy, and as the series went on, they grew the world to where the kids next door were a total agency. The main 5 of Sector V were a lot of fun, and it's a very diverse group. We got British, American, Asian, Australian, and African American, and they work together better than most adults in the real world. How depressing is that? The animation and voice acting were really good, and it was always creative. And as it went on, we got story arcs and character development that we really didn't get that much back then, leading to one of the best finales in CN history. The villains were great and it always gave you a nice adventure. One of the best ideas for a show ever that lived up to its premise. Number 6. This show is so much better than it has any right to be. Think about it, it's a show about 2 kids, one a complete idiot, like he just barely has enough intelligence to breathe, and another that's a heartless bitch. And they force friendship on the Grim Reaper, often leading to cruel slapstick, and it also thrives on gross out. I'm not saying people don't like that, but I can't stand most of that stuff. I should hate this show, and yet I love it. The whole thing, it went on for a while, and it managed to stay at a consistent quality the whole time. I could think of some episodes I didn't like, but not many, and they weren't that bad. So why did this show work? Well, one, Billy and Mandy contrast off each other and make up for the other's faults. Billy is a complete idiot, but he's got such a likable, optimistic personality, and Mandy is basically a bitch, but she's smart. And they rarely let them go too far. Then there's the mean-spirited slapstick. A lot of people got hurt in this show, but it was done so quickly and in such an exaggerated way. Plus, most of the time, the worst of it happened to people who were way more unlikable than our leads. I think of their neighbor Scar. Seeing bad things happen to him was almost always funny. And as for the gross out, well, that wasn't the best part of the show, but it typically never lingered on it for too long. This is the perfect example of taking something I shouldn't like and making me like it. No, not just like, I love this show. So just because something isn't my thing doesn't mean I can't enjoy it when it's done really, really well. Number 5. I like Adventure Time, but I never got super into it. Regular Show, on the other hand, is for me when Cartoon Network started to get really good again. This show is basically Beavis and Butthead, but more child-friendly, although they did get away with some stuff I never would have expected. But yeah, it's about two slackers working at a park, and somehow by the end of the episode they will have to fight off some supernatural force. Yeah, it had its formula, but it was a good formula. Like Billy and Mandy, this show could have easily failed based on the main characters. However, while Mordecai and Rigby are lazy and mostly incompetent, they are not stupid and they aren't annoying. They may annoy the other characters, but they were not designed to be annoying. And also, like Billy and Mandy, they make up for each other's flaws. Mordecai is smarter and more responsible to contrast Rigby's more slacker attitude, and Rigby is more outgoing and pushes Mordecai to do things he normally wouldn't. The side characters are fun, the animation's nice, it's really funny and almost always entertaining. Even when it's not making me laugh, I'm still enjoying myself. And as the show went on, it got more interesting, but it never lost the original charm. In fact, this and MOP should be the poster childs for shows that go over 4 seasons. Yeah, have more story arcs and develop the characters, but have some episodes in there that are just like the show was at the beginning. Even when they went into space, they kept the same feel, and it all came together in an amazing finale that, yes, I admit I teared up a bit. This was a great show and deserved all the praise it got, and I look forward to everything the people who worked on it do in the future. Number 4, and my favorite current Cartoon Network show is...
We are the Crystal Gems. We'll always save the day.
Oh yeah, this show. It has quite a lot of haters, but I can't help but love it. I just love the tone and feel of it. Despite the action and humor that persists throughout most episodes, it kind of has a laid-back feel to it. Like every time I watch one, I just feel oddly relaxed. Maybe it's the colors or the pacing, which are both absolutely fantastic. This show looks great and it almost is always enjoyable. Even their filler episodes are still entertaining. It has a good mix of action and lighthearted fun. Sometimes you'll get a big battle and other times the characters will just play baseball. You never really know what you're gonna get. The characters are all great. I mean, I just love all 4 of the leads, and a lot of the citizens of Beach City are really likable. The only exception is Ronaldo, but even he is mostly tolerable. The mythology and lore is really interesting and always seems to be building, and the music is fantastic. A lot of the voice actors are also singers, but the music itself is just so beautiful. I can just listen to it by itself and still love it. But yeah, there's not much else to say. If you haven't seen it yet or are put off by something, give it a chance. It really is a great show.
Believe in
Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and Steven.
good show.
Number 3,
Jolly good show.
like Billy and Mandy and Regular Show, this should not work. A show about 3 kids trying to scam the others out of money with this weird, surreal animation that looks like a 3-year-old drew it. How could this be good? The animation, while definitely out there, is not ugly. The characters are in the wrong most of the time, but the show knows it and properly punishes the characters that deserve it. Well, again, most of the time. The plot is the same in 90% of the episodes, and yet it managed to stay creative over 10 years. Even when the show could have easily jumped the shark by sending them to school, it still was fun and creative. The humor was great, featuring many different types of humor, slapstick, wordplay, meta-humor, and the voice actors and animators really helped pull off these jokes. The rest of the kids at the cul-de-sac were a ton of fun, and the way they tried to scam the kids out of money were always neat to see. It lasted a decade and was the last of the original cartoons. I loved it all the way through, and it came to an end with that awesome finale movie. This show is awesome. Number 2.
Jolly good show.
Technically, the show was airing on Kids WB at the same time, but I was watching it on Cartoon Network.
When there's trouble, you know who to call.
Teen Titans was a very important show to me while growing up. This and Avatar were two of the first shows with story arcs that I had to make sure I watched every week to know what was going to happen next. But unlike Avatar, this show didn't focus solely on character development and story arcs. In fact, it had a good mix. Each season, half the episodes were focused on those arcs, while the other half were just fun, sometimes silly standalone episodes. And it was cool that each season focused on a different Titan. They mixed action and comedy really well, but it wasn't afraid to sometimes just go completely surreal. The animation and action are fantastic. It's basically a good transition into anime for us uncultured Westerners. The characters were all fun, and every one of them had their comedic and serious side. The voice acting was pitch perfect, and it was almost always entertaining. Teen Titans was damn near perfect, and it has something for everybody. Number 1.
Good show.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Cowardly Dog Show, starring Courage the Cowardly Dog!
Courage the Cowardly Dog is one of those perfect shows where everything about it came together in a perfect storm to create something truly special. It's a horror comedy that is both really scary and really funny. Some of these episodes still freak me out to this day, and when I was younger, even when I knew something was going to come up that would scare me, I still watched it because sometimes it's just really fun to be scared. It's also hilarious. Eustace and Mario work off each other so well. That computer is a freaking riot, and Courage himself is a good protagonist. And he teaches a good lesson. Even though you're afraid, you can still get the job done. And that's another thing about the show. It's surprisingly sweet, especially in the last couple seasons. Yeah, it never got too sappy, but the show could have some truly heartbreaking moments. The animation is great and they could experiment with different styles. The morals were good, it had a classic cartoony feel to it, and it was always creative. Courage the Cowardly Dog, to this day, remains my favorite Cartoon Network series of all time.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad!
What?